And I'll go ahead and start recording right now.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone who's logging on. We're definitely going to wait until a little bit after the hour as we have a lot of attendees for this event, but welcome.
If anybody would like, while you wait, go ahead and type in your name or organization in the chat box. Happy to have you here.
If you're just joining, you can go ahead and put your name and organization or where you're from in the chat. I'm sure you may have noticed that's what some folks are doing. And we'll start here in just a couple minutes. Okay, well, I know people are still logging on, but we can go ahead and get started. We do have just an hour here allocated for this webinar, so we want to be mindful of everyone's time. Welcome to the Electric Truck Futures Here webinar series. My name is Alicia Cox. I am the Executive Director of Yellowstone-Teton Clean Cities, and I'm welcoming you to the webinar today. I'm going to go over this is our quick agenda. I'm doing introductions right now, and then we'll have our Lordstown Motor presentation that you are all here for. After that, we do plan on having a Q&A session, and you can see there is the Q&A function down, well, I guess I'm not exactly sure where it is on your screen, but you could see kind of near participants in chat that there's the Q&A section. So if you would like to put your questions there, we will be marking them answered if they're covered throughout the webinar, but otherwise we'll be mentioning them at the end. And we will have some polling questions interspersed throughout the webinar between these agenda items, and the webinar is recorded. So you can share with your colleagues. We'll be sending that out in an email after the webinar is complete. And move on. So a little background on the organizations here that came together to host this webinar. There is Northern Colorado Clean Cities. We have Amy Maxey, program manager, and Diego Lopez, executive director of Northern Colorado Clean Cities. They are located in Northern Colorado, and they focus on alternative fuels and sustainable transportation. And then we have Clean Energy Economy for the region, as their name suggests, or they're known as CLEER, but as their name suggests, they have a multitude of clean energy projects. But here with us is Stefan Johnson, and he is their transportation program manager, and they serve the Western Slope in Colorado. And then myself with Yellowstone-Teton Clean Cities, I'm located in Jackson, Wyoming, and we serve Montana, Wyoming, and Eastern Idaho. So that's who we are and what we do. I kind of have a lot of things on my screen. I'm having trouble seeing my own slides. But yeah, so just so you have an idea of what we do and why we would put something on, an event on like this. What we do for our stakeholders is we provide educational opportunities. This webinar is a great example of that, but also some technical trainings and scholarship funding for those to attend those sorts of trainings. And then we try to help our stakeholders get connected to funding. There's a lot of different grants and program opportunities at the state all the way up to the federal level that can be a little confusing to navigate sometimes. So those go from DOE grants to DARA, and I know a lot of folks are aware of Volkswagen funding at the moment. So if you have vehicle replacements or projects that you're interested in trying to find some funds for, reach out to all of us, and we can hopefully help you with that. We also provide information and tools. So perhaps you want to do a total cost of ownership analysis, or you need to understand the greenhouse gas emission savings by using a certain alternative fuel. We can provide you with those calculations. And this all kind of wraps up with our coaching and analysis. So we can work with you as an individual, a fleet, a government, from the state all the way to the federal level, to really look at what your needs are, what your vehicle needs are, and connect you to the proper resources and information and the funding. So you will be receiving a follow-up email after this with all of our contact information. So if any of this seems like it could serve your needs, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we are going to, at this point, move into our first poll. We hope you participate. And then after that, we will move right along to hear from James with Lordstown.
And James, while people are answering the polling questions, you can go ahead and start sharing your screen.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Are you able to see it?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay.
I'm going to give just a few more minutes for the polling question. We have about 50% who have voted so far. Alrighty, so we got 77% reporting. Oh, got a few more in there. I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Yes, it does look like some of y'all do already own EVs. I want to be mindful of a few more coming in. Okay. So you should be seeing the results on your screen. Looks like a lot of people heard about this event through word of mouth, which is great. Quite a few people here have driven an electric vehicle or have been a passenger in one. And a lot of people here are likely on purchasing an EV in their near future, which is great. All right, and environmental benefits is listed as something that's most appealing. And here's something interesting. A lot of people are worried about the lack of utility SUV and truck options. So it's great that you're all here today to learn more about what Lordstown Motors can offer you. And about just over half have heard of Lordstown before this one. Thank you, everybody. Okay. All right, James, you can take it away.
I still see this on my video. Can I just take this poll off?
Yes, if you close out, you should be able to
Okay.
exit.
All right. Okay. Very good. First of all, thank you for inviting us. My name is James Rajiah. I'm with Lordstown Motors. I'm one of the sales directors, and I handle the central part of the United States. As you may know, some 50% of you know what Lordstown is. So I'll go ahead and start the presentation. First of all, I wanted to show you our facility, which is the third largest assembly plant that GM had. And we purchased from GM a little over a year ago. It's 6.2 million square feet, and that's about 180 football fields under roof. So it's a huge facility. We were fortunate to get the assembly plant fully functional, meaning all the robots and all of the equipment was still here. As you may know, northeastern Ohio, where we're from, Lordstown, used to be called the Rust Belt or Steel Valley, and now we're changing it to Voltage Valley. We're quite proud of that. I wanted to start you off with a promotional video. It's inspiring for us every time we see it. It gets us going. So let me go ahead and start this for you. Take a look at it.
Whatever gets you out of bed in the morning. That little light that turns on. That spark that ignites something at your core. Whatever you want to call it, make sure you use it. It's that electricity inside you that drives you, moves you, pushes you past what you thought were your limits. It's our ability to evolve, persist and press on, to become stronger than our circumstances. And above all, endure. Endurance is our very nature. It's fundamental, elemental, essential to our future. Endurance is what got us here. And there's nowhere it can't take us. The all-electric Endurance by Lordstown Motors.
Okay, we're quite happy with that video. So this is our prototype that we had built. It is all electric pickup truck. As you can see, when we built this, we didn't make it, like the Cybertruck or anything that's so far out of the realm of what a pickup truck should be. So over the last 40 years, this is what it's come out to. The height, the seat arrangement, the load, the pickup, the bed size, all of that. We didn't want to change that, but underneath is what it's radical, which is like a spaceship. So let me go ahead with this. You can see here some of the advantages. What we're actually selling is the total cost of ownership. And as you saw in the video, this is built for the working class. This is built for the common day, everyday men and women that go out and work. We're not building a, so to speak, a lifestyle truck. This will be a work truck. Over the span of 5 years, it's an estimated $20,000 in savings compared to an ICE pickup truck, internal combustion engine. It has a range of 250 miles initially for the first production run. And this is so based on our studies, the fleet trucks only travel between 80 to 100 miles a day. So we're well within range. And we limit it to 250 miles because, the biggest cost in electric vehicles is the battery. So as the efficiencies go up on the batteries, the range will obviously go up. It has 5 times better fuel economy compared to a internal combustion pickup truck. Our benchmark is obviously the F-150, the biggest selling vehicle. So it is a great vehicle. They've perfected it. However, they could never get past that 15 mile per gallon efficiency, where our truck, it's 75 miles per e-gallon. The annual maintenance on this is far less. Obviously, you don't have an engine, you don't have a transmission, you don't have an exhaust. So, there is no overhauling the engine or the transmission or the exhaust. So these vehicles, they can last up to 250,000 miles, 500,000 miles. We don't have the data just yet, but that's what we're forecasting. It's 5-star crash tests. And once our beta vehicles come out, we'll have 60 of those available here soon, which will go for rigorous testing. It has 4 in-wheel hub motors. Those are the only 4 moving parts in the vehicle. Curb weight is 5,300 pounds, 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. So it is a rocket. However, with our telematics, we can tone that down. A lot of the fleet supervisors will not want their trucks racing up and down the highway, so we understand that. So as you can see, lowest cost of ownership, the 4 motors, it's a greater traction, has regenerative braking, telematics, obviously no oil changes, large front crush zone, fewest moving parts, tightest turning radius, and of course, 0 emissions. Get to the next slide. Here are the design specs. We are planning to have these delivered September of this year. It's very ambitious, but we are set to do that. The base price is $52,500. Of that, the first 200,000 vehicles from a new manufacturer get the $7,500 tax credit. As you can see, some of the other design specs, vehicle warranties, 3-year, 36,000 miles. The battery warranty is 8-year, 100,000 miles. EV range, 250 miles plus. And as I said, as our trucks get on the road, we'll be able to fine tune them. We're expecting more of a range. It's going to have onboard powering for power tools, seating capacity of 5, and it is full all-electric 4-wheel drive. 20-inch wheels, 600 horsepower, and we've limited and governed the top speed to 80 miles an hour. Payload capacity is 2,000, towing capacity is 7,500. And here's a better shot of the truck. As you can see, it is a pickup truck, what everyone's used to or what fleets are used to. And that's what we went after. However, like I said, everything underneath it is like a rocket ship. It's new technology. It's advanced technology. In the front, we call it a frunk. The front trunk, it has 20 cubic foot of storage. It also has a power receptacle. You can charge your power tools, and it is weatherproof. It has an infotainment system, which is live and what I want to say is it's on air, and it's a real time. It's real time infotainment system. It will calculate anything that is right with the truck and wrong with the truck and relay that to your supervisor or the shop supervisor. And anything that it needs, it can be on air software upgrade. So just like a telephone, when you plug it in at night, it'll have all the software updates. It'll be much better was than the day before. So these trucks actually get better with time. We moved the charging port, initially was on the driver's side. We moved it to the front of the vehicle because we realized some of these trucks will go home with the operators, and they may live on a street where they don't have access to a driveway, whatever it is, so they can plug in the vehicle from just the front of it instead of having to run a wire to the other side of the vehicle. It'll also have an outlet in the back of the bed. And realistically, this can charge a medium-sized home for a day and a half. It can power up a home because it's got that much energy. It'll have the level 1, 2, and the DC fast charge, the universal charge ports. So it'll be able to be plugged in anywhere. And this is the chassis. You can see the simplicity of it. It has batteries that are aligned between the frame, and they are stacked. As the battery efficiencies do get better, the vehicle will get lighter, and it'll be the range will go up higher as well. And you can see there's no motors between the frame. The motors are actually in the wheels itself. And compared to a competitor, let's say, you could see they have electric motor and a gearbox, which means more moving parts, possibly more maintenance, and it's a little bit more harder to get to, where our motors are actually in the wheels. Even if you have a flat tire, you would not have to remove the motor to get the tire changed. And here's a little bit more of a breakdown. You can see the bearings. It actually is put on with 5 bolts, and the connection to the motor is 3 electrical connections. Obviously, we want someone that's qualified to work on those, that's certified, because it's such high energy. And you could see the simplicity of it. People do have questions on it because this is new technology, and the status of the motors, and has it been tested? I can show you a video here from our supplier. It's been rigorously tested. It's got over 1 million miles worth of testing on it. I'll just play a little bit of it. You can see some of the testing that's been done on it. It's got the submersive test, the high-speed test, the drop test. There's a drop test, shock test, submerged for many days, ice and cold, extreme corrosive additives, and it's passed with flying colors. In wheel. And this is almost like plaster cement that has been put through. Frozen for 3 days. So that's a little bit of that. And here's an important video. This shows our skateboard chassis. and our CEO and founder, Steve Burns. Let me play this for you.
Hi, I'm Steve Burns. I'm CEO of Lordstown Motors, and we've got a treat for you guys today. What you see here is an alpha chassis or skateboard. How automotive works, you go from prototype to alpha build, and then to beta builds, and then pre-production, and then production. We are at alpha stage. Starting January, we go to beta builds. But these alphas are mostly for durability testing. But in this case, we're testing without a body, so we can see things that might be hidden from us. But this is our chassis. This is the battery, located low for great handling and safety. The beauty of these hubs are you're just slapping these wheels basically on the four corners, and it gives you, again, precise control, traction, and handling, to our knowledge, a pickup truck has never been able to achieve. What goes into the design and manufacture of a chassis like this so it can survive 5-star crash rating is a lot of engineering, and both in design engineering and in the production engineering to make it in quantity. You're about to see probably the most robust skateboard ever conceived or built. Just want to tell you what we're doing. We're going to cut to some of the videos, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Steve.
So he really takes that. He really takes that and pushes that through. Here's another one. This is a tug of war between the Endurance and the F-150.
Don't go early.
You.
You ready, Ron? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
So you can see the traction on these motors. So the point of that was we have, the traction is just incredible. And since the center of gravity is very low and each wheel is independently controlled by the computer, it only gets the power it needs. It's a very lost for words here because I'm excited about watching these videos. It's a very capable and durable vehicle. Any questions on the motors or the batteries, you can see on these videos that they've actually come through. We want to thank you for hosting LMC. We want to thank you for having us and showing this. If you have any questions, our information is here. We are actually improving the vehicle. The design specs are keep improving as we go into production. So thank you once again for having us. And I believe we'll open this up to questions now. So I'll turn this back over to Alicia and Amy.
Well, thank you so much. That was very informative, and we do have quite a few questions from the audience. I think what we can start with is the availability of the vehicle. You mentioned there's the beta test vehicles available now, or out there now, but when can people start pre-ordering, and what does that look like, purchasing these vehicles, and when they'll really see them?
Sure. We have online for consumers to pre-order. With $100 down, you can start reserving a vehicle. But most of our vehicles in the first production, they are going to these fleets, because that's who we're targeting at present. We have quite a few, as you might have noticed. We have over 100,000 on letters of intent of people wanting to buy our vehicle, especially some of the bigger companies, utility companies and whatnot. But we're trying to fill our production line for the next 3 years. So it's still open, and if you would like to send us a letter of intent or a purchase order, our information is posted there.
Okay. And then will the Endurance be available through cooperative purchasing or to government customers?
For government, they want to see the vehicle produced first. So that takes a little bit of time. You have to go through the bidding process and whatnot, but we are open right now. We're taking purchase orders. The first vehicles will be delivered in September. We're still on target for that.
And James, I'll jump in here and ask you to expand on that a little bit. So Lordstown has over 100,000 vehicles on pre-order with letter of intent. Can you talk about bringing manufacturing to scale? What's the goal for how many vehicles you'll be producing by the end of 2021 and going forward?
Sure. We have targeted 20,000 vehicles for the first year, 50,000 for the following year, 100,000 and on up. Our facility, when it was developing or producing the Chevy Cruze, which was the last vehicle built here, they were building about 400,000 a year, first, second, and third shift. But since we no longer will need the engine line or the transmission line or the exhaust line, our capacity will go up to 600,000 vehicles. So we're excited about that. So we'll scale that up.
Yeah. We have another question here that would like you to speak to the marketing campaigns that will be rolled out this year. Like, what locations can we expect you to be running some demonstrations? Apparently you did that a little bit last year.
Yes, we had our prototype, which is the vehicle that you saw in all the videos, except for the skateboard, that was in the commercial. We had taken that from California and came across to the country. It ended up at the White House at the last place it visited, and we went up and down the East Coast. But now, when the beta builds, we'll have 60 of those vehicles available. Of that, the sales team will have quite a few. And if you request, we will come out and show the vehicle to you. So we'll come out to Colorado and any place. We'll just have to schedule that in. But we'll be happy to bring the vehicle and show it to you. Of course, we have to keep in mind the pandemic. We're aware of that, and so we're limiting some of these events to a smaller number, obviously. But once the pandemic lifts, we'll bring it out to whoever wants to see it.
Will the battery be upgradable or replaceable?
Yes. The battery itself, it's warranted for 8 years. At the end of 8 years, we'll probably want it back. It'll go into possibly residential storage. At that time, the battery can be replaced. And in 8 years, the battery will be that much more efficient, that much more lighter, and it'll be able to be switched out. We are, by design spec, planning for that as well.
And so building on that, James, for the first 8 years, when the battery is in the vehicle, will it be vehicle to grid capable, and does the warranty cover that potential application?
Yes, it will. It will cover that. We have had questions about, will it be bi-directional? And yes, we can put that option in some of the vehicles as far as charging.
And then will there be the ability to modify the truck for different applications, such as bucket trucks? And will there be different cab styles too? Yeah.
The initial production line will be as it is because the total cost of ownership. However, you can order it with a bed delete. We're working with a bunch of upfitters that will modify the truck to put a light bar, to put obviously a trailer package or a toolbox, even for snowplows. All that will be available. Now, one of the good things about acquiring our facility, from GM is they have given us access to their parts bin, meaning a lot of the things that would fit on a Silverado will also fit on our vehicle. As you notice, there's not very many parts on this vehicle as far as moving parts, but some of the, most fleets, the thing that they damage is the body, the cosmetics of it, and that'll be off the shelf. You can probably get, and all of the panels and any fittings that for the vehicle, it'll all be done in-house, and we'll be able to get that to you right from the factory.
What is the maximum depth of water that the Lordstown Endurance can safely drive through?
So the testing so far we've done, and of course we're waiting for the beta vehicles to get better data. It can go into 3 feet of water and just be fine.
James, could you talk about, we're getting lots of questions about charging the Lordstown. So is it capable of doing DC fast charging? And then, could you expand about the battery performance in cold conditions? We're all in very cold weather climates and
Sure,
rigorous sort of, duty cycle expected of these vehicles. So talk about the Lordstown and charging and the battery.
sure. On the battery issue, our technology is getting better and better as we go along too. We have a proprietary heating and cooling system for the battery that will be announced here shortly. We're also working with GM and Samsung and some of the other folks. We're getting their technology, but we're building it in-house at our facility. It will have the level 1, level 2, and DC fast charging available. The ports will be available. As you know, level 1 takes probably overnight. If someone takes it home, just plugs it into a regular outlet. And level 2 takes probably 3 or 4 or 5 hours to charge the battery. And we're expecting it to be like a phone where you would just top it off every time. But if you do need the DC fast charging, I think 15 to 20 minutes is what the charge time is for a full charge.
And then we have a question about, are there plans to extend the range in the future of the vehicle?
Yes. Obviously, when the range is extended, we'll have to have more battery capacity, and that's what causes the obviously the price to go up. So all of those options are open. I also want to say this vehicle is targeted for working as a working vehicle. So the initial vehicle will come with cloth or vinyl seats, rubber flooring. None of the amenities you see in let's say a lifestyle truck. It's not going to have leather seats or sunroofs, but it'll have all the standard equipment. It'll have power windows and whatnot. But other than that, it's going to be as a work truck, and that's why the total cost of ownership is low on this vehicle, the lowest in EVs for pickup truck.
Sure. And James, the specs with the truck are super impressive. And, we know that the operations and maintenance needs for electric vehicles is much lower than your traditional pickup truck. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, as a new company coming to market, what can you say about customers in terms of your level of support for any operations and maintenance that might have? Are you going to partner with a dealership network or, kind of a a system of support at the ground level. So if anything does go wrong,
Good question.
be serviced.
Good question. We have recently opened a facility in California because we are expecting that to be a big market. Soon we're hoping to have one in Colorado. So that's good news. And throughout the United States. So anywhere there's a concentration of our vehicles, we'll open up a facility. We're also working with Camping World. You might have seen in the news. They will also be a support system for us. They will do some of the minor warranty work on it. If there's anything that's more that requires expert service, we'll send a ranger out to work on the vehicle. But at the same time, for some of the bigger fleets, we will train their technicians to work on our vehicle. But for some of the smaller fleets, we will start getting facilities throughout the United States to service the vehicle.
And then, that's all great news.
Yeah.
We're a bit remote out here. Do you have an order minimum for your vehicles for a small business?
We do not. We want to get the vehicle out to everybody. So like I said, you can order even a single vehicle online, but for fleets, for landscape companies, for you can order 5, you can order 10, you can order thousands. We will take all that into consideration as far as what the production needs will be. For instance, for any manufacturer, if there's a set amount of or set options someone wants, those will go into production first. So that being said, our first vehicle will be for as work vehicles, and it'll have very minimum options available for the first run. But as we gear up and get our facility to build a bigger range of vehicles, we'll have more options available.
Can you talk about the warranty a little bit more of not just the battery, but the vehicle and parts?
The warranty is 3-year, 36,000 miles, bumper to bumper, as they say. But there aren't very many parts to go wrong. And the battery is 8-year, 100,000 miles. So the biggest cost on any EV vehicle is the battery, and that is covered for 8 years. And we're open to, as an option, probably have extended warranty, as most car companies do have. So that'll be available.
Okay.
Then I see a question about towing, which I know will be important for a lot of people that are using this as a work truck. And the question that we received is, can you explain the towing capacity, 7,500 pounds, relative to horsepower, which is 600 horsepower? What are the towing constraints, such as frame design, power, braking, etc.?
That's a very good question. One of the things that EVs have that regular pickup trucks, regular internal combustion engines vehicles have, we have a robust frame, because we have to protect the battery, which is such high energy. So the frame is I don't want to say indestructible, but it pretty much is. It can tow 7,500 pounds. And the question probably is, will the range go down? But, like any other vehicle, when you're towing something, when you're putting a load on it, obviously the gas mileage goes down. So it'll be relative to that. So depending on how much you tow, obviously it affects the range. But this vehicle is, by design spec, for the first production run, 7,500 pounds.
And somebody wanted you to repeat your comment about the snowplow capability and when that option will be available for our snowy region.
Sure. That'll be one of the options that we'll put on the vehicle for like a winter package. The snowplow will be able to be upfitted on our vehicle. we're working with a number of upfitters, and they're getting very familiar with our truck. I don't know how anything more specific than that. Like I said, some of the fitments will be not identical to, but very close to what would fit on a Chevy Silverado. So if you can put it on a Silverado, we can put it on our truck.
And James, so lots of fleets will be really interested in the vehicle. Can you talk a little bit more about Lordstown's, ability to partner with fleet customers on the infrastructure side of things? If they're going to, be having many fleet vehicles, does Lordstown offer, engineering support? And, in general, what are your plans for, developing the level of infrastructure that's going to be needed to support all of these new working EVs?
Good question. Obviously, we're working with everyone as far as infrastructure, because we're going to be agnostic. We don't want, we're not just going with one particular infrastructure charging company. So we'll be working with a number of them. And if a customer approaches us and asks us who that we would recommend, we'll give you 3 or 4 different companies as preferred partners with us, and you'll be able to choose and work out the deal with them. So we'll be working with everyone.
And then another question kind of pertaining to our cold climate out here is, are you aware of what the range of the vehicle becomes when it's operating in, say, -15 degrees? Somebody mentioned that their Nissan Leaf, their range reduced about 50% in the cold. So are you aware of how Lordstown vehicles will operate?
Yeah, when our beta vehicles come out, we'll be doing extensive, on the road testing, and we'll get better data from there. Then have it verified to government standards, and we'll let you know. Well, that data will come out. We don't have those numbers just yet. As you saw, the skateboard, it did really well in the cold. And with a new technology, with the HVAC system we're putting in, the battery, it should keep it warm and cold as needed. And we don't see a tremendous reduction in capacity, but that data will come out here shortly.
Okay. And we'll share that with everybody on this call. We'll have your email addresses when there's
Yes.
all these things coming out through this beta testing. Another question, are you aware, are you trying to be listed on GSA for federal fleets to be able to purchase?
Yes, we have applied for that, and we will be listed on the GSA.
Great.
Yeah.
Just sifting through this, we have lots of questions, few repeats. Somebody was wondering if you might be producing a car in the future. Is that something you're thinking about?
Well, we have such a large facility, so everything is possible. One of the things is our skateboard, as you saw, we can pretty much put any body on that. So there will be different models coming out.
Yeah, maybe James, could you expand and talk about your partnership with Camping World and kind of the recreational minded vehicle that you might bring in the future after the work truck?
Sure. Camping World will be a great partner for us because, as you know, when you go camping, there's electrical outlets to charge your vehicle. So it kind of fits in with what we're doing, and where we can evolve from the EV vehicle into the RV world. So all of that's still in talks. They're working out the details. They're working out coming up with different ideas. So there's a lot of opportunities and possibilities that we're looking into.
We have a question here. What is the kW charging limit? I understand this is ultimately what determines how fast it can charge.
Our battery is 117. my teammate here, Joey Capizzuto's on here. Joey, would you like to chime in on that? If you're able to. Oh, you're on mute.
I can chime in a little bit. So yeah, as James was saying, the actual battery itself is going to be about 109 to 117 kilowatts, but the charging capacity itself, so how much the battery can actually handle in terms of like the speed of the charging, is still under the design spec. Just so as our engineers are working, as we get the more beta vehicles ready to go, that's when we will be able to know more about the max capacity for charging kilowatts.
We have a few more specs questions that I might see if we can rattle off quickly. What is the GVWR of the truck and the current dry weight?
That's still in the design spec. Once we get our beta vehicles out, the GWR is probably going to be around 6,000 pounds, I believe, because we're not dealing with the weight of the vehicle right now is a prototype, and so it's not accurate. Once that comes out, we'll get that published.
Awesome. And the vehicle comes equipped with regenerative braking, correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. And will it come with a towing receiver as standard equipment?
That by design spec, I believe that will be one of the options as a fleet option, but we'll get that information out as well here shortly.
And the clearance on the vehicle?
The clearance on the vehicle is 15 inches right now. However, this vehicle, you can put springs on it to lift it as you would a Silverado. It has that capability.
There's a couple questions about the tax credit. So here's one that says most local governments are not eligible to receive tax credits directly. Are there other financial incentives or models that you would help support the purchase by local governments?
That's an interesting question. We've talked to some of these fleet management companies, and initially, if you lease a vehicle from a fleet management company, they absorb that tax credit, and they can pass that along to the municipality. Or what happens is they take title for a year, then they would pass that along to the municipality. So that's how they would gain that tax credit. So there's different methods. There's a lot of different ways companies are going about it, municipalities are going about it.
Mm-hmm. And folks can work with our organizations too to try to look at the financial aspects of these vehicles too.
And I know different states have different incentives, different cities and different counties have different incentives. So we'll help out with that.
Okay. What's the onboard battery charger power?
Joey, do you want to take that, please?
I'm assuming that this question is more geared towards the actual like power outlets that we have in the front of the vehicle and off of the bed of the truck itself. So that will have like a normal standard 110 outlet with 60 amp service. So it'll most likely be like your wall outlets that you would plug your power tools into if you're working out of your garage at home.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be a 30 amp service. Actually.
30.
Yeah.
My mistake. Apologies.
Design spec. Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that you'd be able to take the vehicle to those who request a test drive of it, but do you plan on having any showrooms or some locations for test drives that are kind of hubs for your?
We're still in our infancy at this point, but we will have locations available, and we're working with several different partners to have our vehicle shown there. But as of right now, if we're invited to come out to an event, we will certainly be there and show the vehicle. as you know, there are no car shows anymore with this pandemic, and all of those trade shows are very limited. So we're by invitation, we will bring the vehicle out to you.
Right. So James, Lordstown is going to have the first mover advantage in being one of the first, commercially available electric pickup trucks in the country. But in recent weeks, we've seen a lot of announcements from some of the other established OEMs like Ford and General Motors, and then we also know there's some other new companies like Rivian and Bollinger Motors. Talk about how you see Lordstown Motors continuing to have a product differential in the market, and who are the target profile customers that you're going after, the specific fleet characteristics, and why Lordstown is going to be the right product for that kind of profile.
As you've seen, our facility is very big. There's a lot of capacity to build our vehicles here. Some of our competitors, they're building other vehicles. They have their series of vehicles that they have to build that they are that they're producing currently. We're focusing on the Endurance first. So this is our one vehicle that we're getting out first, and we'll get it out to the market first. And as obviously, we're going after the pickup truck market, the fleet market, and it's a very a big market at that. And the F-150 obviously is the #1 selling vehicle. So we're going right after that target market. And we are on target to get the vehicle out in September. So we will be the first one out.
And just to kind of piggyback off of James right there, as he was talking about, another thing that kind of separates us from the other industries or the competitors as well is our actual in-wheel hub motors. So a lot of the EV manufacturers starting out will kind of stick to that inboard motor. So with our hub motors and also our competitive pricing to the other startup electric pickup trucks that we've seen from Tesla or from Rivian, we kind of are able to have that more competitive price to where we are more affordable for a lot of consumers that might not think about an EV that is overpriced in the industry.
Very good.
And to piggyback off of that one, we did have a question asking if with the in-wheel motors and having regenerative braking, like, will that affect the in-wheel motors at all?
No, it will not. Our motors have been tested on last mile delivery trucks, and they have over 1 million miles of testing done on them, and they've done very, very well. So as you may know, if a EV is on the highway, it does not use regenerative braking, so it uses more power, more energy. But if it's in the city, the stop and go actually helps the motor and performs better, and it'll get better with time.
It's also beneficial when you're going up and over and then down mountain passes.
That's correct. Yes.
There's that as well. And I think those having the motors in hub is very useful in the terrain that we have out here. If you're going to a backcountry trailhead and you're on these dirt rugged roads, I think that would be really useful and helpful for folks.
And our four-wheel drive system is truly a four-wheel drive. Each motor is independently controlled by the computer, so it only gets the power it needs. So the traction on the vehicle is incredible. I've driven the truck many times, and the handling is like a sports car. It's like driving on rails. The center of gravity is very low, so the safety aspect of it is also essential because the center of gravity is low. It will have less of a rollover. It doesn't sway as much. It really sticks to the ground.
There's another question about charging. Someone was curious if you'll have any sort of proprietary charging infrastructure throughout the country, or if you're going to rely on the infrastructure that's coming along on its own.
Yeah, unlike Tesla, they have a proprietary charging. We will not have that. We will have a universal. We are a vehicle manufacturer. We're not getting into the infrastructure business. However, like I mentioned before, we're working with a lot of folks. We'll work with whoever's universal, so everyone has access to charging our vehicle.
So,
Well, I think, we still have lots of kind of technical questions and specifics that we probably don't have time to get through during the rest of our 2 minutes that'll bring us to the hour. But would it be okay, James, if we followed up with you and asked some of those questions and then got that out to our audience via our after event email?
Absolutely, absolutely. We would love to hear from the participants. Our design is evolving, and as we do more tests, as we get more data, we'll release those. And we want to get this information out, and we want there to be more excitement about these vehicles, because we are really truly excited about this. Not only are we helping our community, we're helping obviously the climate, and we're also helping bringing EV as an affordable to the middle class, so to speak. And we want to get the vehicle out as soon as we can too.
yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to be on this webinar and answer all these questions. This is something, as all of our organizations, we came together. We're so excited. For years, our stakeholders have said, a small electric sedan is not going to work for us in this region. Right. So as soon as these announcements about your electric truck coming out, we were very excited and wanted to make sure that we could provide our stakeholders with the information and also that excitement about this product coming out into the world. So thank you so much. And we'll be updating the attendees with information from these questions, as well as you have updates with the beta testing. So folks are ready to go and ready to ride Lordstown.
Yeah, ride with Lordstown. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Amy. Thank you,
so much.
Stefan.
And I am going to do just a quick post-event poll here. So we'll pull that up. But thank you all so much. And, like we've mentioned, we'll definitely reach out to you after this event. So we'll get all of your questions answered.
Very good.
And really quick, James, too, somebody did ask this question, and I'm curious as well, just because I'm in Colorado, but do you have a specific area in Colorado that you're looking for your facility?
Not secure yet, but most likely Denver area.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Like I said, and there's a concentration of our vehicles. We'll have a facility opening up. So we're really excited about Colorado and Denver. And any green states, so to speak, right? Yeah. So we want to be everywhere.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and leave this open while people are finishing up the polls. But thank you all for coming. We really appreciated it, and we will reach out to you in just a couple days with some follow-up.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Great.
How do we capture all of the Q&A, like the questions that we didn't get specifically answered on this?
I believe that will all show up on our reports.
Great.
So I'll pull all of those together. We got quite a few who responded to the post-event poll, which is great too. We can stop recording as well.
Great job, everybody.